Hello world. We are live. Welcome. We have the amazing Huli Julia, and Dan Foster with us. Jeremiah should be
Howdy.
joining again soon. Um, Julia, you have quite the upcoming busy schedule, starting with the alien event. Is that what this one's called?
Yes, it's called the Alien Event. There's going to be amazing speakers. Just the fact that Samus Monagich is going to be there, like what he points out, Samus Monagich points out, is like, look, you could go to the pyramid in Egypt, right? And you could ride a camel, you could get a selfie with the pyramid in the background. But when you go to Bosnia and you go to the pyramid there, you could go inside. They have 2 miles you're able to enter. In fact, Andreas was able to go and bring his father and experience it just a month ago.
Right?
And
this summer? Oh, so jealous.
and you're able to, it's not just about going to see the pyramid, you're able to go inside of it, and he speaks of people with high blood pressure or certain ailments, and how quickly they see a difference and how quickly it heals them. And then those with more severe cases, health issues, when they go twice a day, in the morning and then in the night, in the morning for an hour, in the night for an hour, the difference, they're able to see miraculous healings. So it's like, hey, you're going to go to a pyramid. What a better pyramid to go to than the Bosnian pyramid?
Yes.
One that still heals, that's still active with the scalar technology. And for those that aren't aware of, the water as well, and that there's in the tunnels in the Bosnian pyramid, Sam's found these like 10,000-year-old pristine, undisturbed crystal pools and lengths of water tunnels, and that they had to like dig out all the pebbles that they have dated with the carbon dating from leaves and stuff, that sediment that was found in the pebbles that like covered up the pyramid tunnels to be over 12,000 years old, or around that time of pre-cataclysm. But that behind the covering there was all of these lengths of this different water and primary crystal waters and stuff. It's just absolutely fascinating stuff. And that he's shown some of the sciences connecting just the energy healings and the natural.
That's what I think is so profound. Yes, there's scalar waves, and there is water that goes beneath the pyramids. And based off of all of my insights and everything that's shown, it's all about the hexagonal shape of the water. So that's something that occurs naturally, but it no longer, when you no longer have the access to the natural waters that has that hexagonal shape. That's why these structure of taking water, these inventions, that people have different forms of ways of taking water and spinning it in a way where it becomes hexagonal shape, which becomes the living structured water that we all used to have access to, and that is what our body responds to.
The structured water, the science of this, what the ancients knew so much, and the power of healthy living water, the crystal plasma structured water. And he's shown the evidence that that's most likely what these ancient pyramid structures were for and used for. And then it ties into the electroculture, agriculture, and all of that.
And that's why it's so important to, even just speaking into your water. It sounds so crazy of like speaking into your water, and then you look into the Emoto experiment of like, oh wow, that could have a profound effect. Speaking into the water and charging it in a way, like it's programmable. It is programmable. Our bodies are mainly water.
sorry to interrupt. The fourth state of water that water has memory, and that's what Emoto proved, and that's what Jared Polak,
Question for you, BurnEye.
Washington State, in his fourth state of water and structured water is water has memory. And what you're talking about, the Emotos, where you put hate energy in, it's the water would crystallize in ugly, like shattered, unorganized, just nasty looking patterns. And then when you put projected love and health and healing, you would get these beautiful fractal geometries of nature, and lots of times, like you're saying, the hexagon within them.
Hexagonal shape. I'm all for it.
Yes.
The honeycomb
dielectric memory type of solid that can emit positrons when you're making the anti-gravity device.
So if anybody's going to be in Vegas or
Because
can
the
be in
memory
Vegas
aspect
September
is
14th through the 17th, that would be amazing. If you came out, if even just to meet Dr. Samus Monagich, that is amazing.
as well. Rex from League Project also there. I see Laura Eisenhower, yourself, and you've got a couple of in-person interviews you're doing there. Huge.
Yeah, Johnny
disclosure
Enoch.
event, really.
Johnny Enoch has a show on Gaia. He talks about, metaphysics, and he's very knowledgeable. He will be there, and he's going to be a keynote speaker. And Brad Olson, he went down to Antarctica.
Right? Yeah, one of the few people to actually organize and partake in a real modern day expedition to the south. And he's got quite the story.
If anybody wants to go, if you enter my code is Tartaria, because I usually speak about Tartaria, so they made my code Tartaria. So when you go to get your tickets, type in Tartaria and it'll get you 40% off. So that's huge on those tickets.
That's huge. 40% off by putting Tartaria in if you're in Vegas, right? Like that's worth going to Vegas for. And yeah, Dan, your voice is very, very soft again here.
I'm probably being introverted or something. I think to myself a lot. So if I'm speaking, I don't know if I'm being loud enough generally. Is this better?
Fair enough, Mike. Much better, good sir. Okay. And Julie, did you want to go a little bit into like the work you're currently doing with remote viewing, with astrology, stuff like that?
What I'm working on now is actually I'm writing a book about my inner Earth experience, because I was contacted by Vice to do a show on inner Earth. My family said no. I pointed them to someone that I thought would be perfect, and that was Andreas Exertus. And they loved him, of course. And then they contacted me because they wanted me to remote view a location, which I did. And the thing is that I went to remote view it like it was any other target, right? Like I was like, okay, I'm remote viewing this. This will take a 2 hours, 4 hours. And so I thought it was going to be like any other session. And I went to remote view it, and I was dating this guy who was very, very tapped in, and he had touched a UFO. And he always said, look, do you ever ask for permission before you do this stuff? And I said, no. And he said, you need to ask for permission. So I was laying there one night, and I needed to remote view. And I was like, oh, hold on. I need to ask for permission for this. So I asked for permission, and 3 plasma light orbs show up glowing in my living room, and they do this crazy thing. And from that point on, for the next 5 days, the most supernatural things happen, and I'm shown it was unlike any other remote viewing session, and I'm shown just amazing things. And so that's what the book is going to be about, is about that. But I also it's also about the cerebral spinal fluid, because I remote viewed a place in Romania that's able to show you who you are, where you've been, what your ancestors have experienced, and probabilities. I'm stressing probabilities on your future probabilities, and it's able to show you on a screen. And as I was viewing it, I was like, this is profound. How the F am I able to see this right now? And it showed me this clear fluid coming up the spine. And that's what caused me to focus on the cerebral spinal fluid. So part of my presentation is about the cerebral spinal fluid, how key it is. And there are certain breathing exercises. There's certain things you can implement, like what is called the Amrita. And, there's something called like the Soma, which is bringing immortal to the gods, the gift of immortality, this fluid that they would, kind of get high on. They say is within the cerebral spinal fluid. So my presentation is about the cerebral spinal fluid, but also I'm going to be doing a video on the waters and how key that is. There's healing places of waters all around the world. And like Lourdes, France. You hear of Blind Frog Ranch. You've had people on your show that have spoken about experiments they're going to be doing there. And you hear about these places around the world, and then we talked about on the last show we did how Rockefeller would get his bathwater shipped in from Orange City, Florida. So there's powers and healing powers in these waters, and so many of us have ailments or we're not thriving. So I think it's an excellent point to educate ourselves on, like what our water needs to have hexagonal shape. And there's certain inventors that have come up with ways to make the water living, structured water. They don't totally give away their secrets, but to have that hint of like, ooh, you get certain systems of structured living water implemented into your house right now.
Oh, absolutely. From like Dan Winter's imploder, magnetic imploder style, to naturopathy, energy, like German, European, and Eastern energy, like
what I found interesting is within the cerebral spinal fluid, I found interesting that it's two streams that spin around a third system. So it's like these two streams that spin on their own individual axis around a third stream, which also the heart does. The heart, I was taught that, or maybe I was just kind of assumed that in the heart, it's just this steady flow of blood, right? But it's actually within your own heart and your own biological divine design is that there's these two streams that stream around like a DNA spiral, like a vortex that spin around a third stream. So your heart spins that way, and your cerebral spinal fluid spin that way. It's not just this steady stream of flow of like, boom, this is the bloodstream. It's just flowing.
Yeah, let me compliment you, Julia, because like showing the helix with your fingers like that is actually a really good way to animate it, and I've not seen anybody do that and trying to demonstrate the helical association, but it actually worked really well, so that surprised me. And the second thing is, I feel like I'm the only idiot in this chat, because everybody else has figured out how to use this little white prompt underneath their names and add some kind of information about their character, and I have no idea how to do that. So would somebody please tell me how that works?
There's the 3 little dots in the top right-hand corner of your little
okay.
Click on that and then edit name and headline, and then you put it in as the.
I've got 3 options here. And this is what it's showing me. It says, I pull it up because my profile name is Geoglyphology, and so that I see these 3 options: remove from stream, solo layout, or mute. And as a co-host, this is something that I absolutely have no excuse for not knowing how to do. But remove from stream, solo layout, or mute are not any of those options. So how do I actually add that? Please help me out here.
3 little dots at the very bottom, like of the different rectangles, like of your own exotic propulsion one next to your mic where you can mute your own mic. You hit the 3 dots there and edit name and headline. Good, sir.
Maybe I have
Julia,
to.
I got to circle back.
It's going to look a little different. I could actually, in fact, here, I'll go ahead and do this because you guys can educate me, and at the same time, as you teach me, everybody else that ever wanted to use Streamyard, they'll also see how to do this. So let me go ahead and share the screen that I am looking at now. And then, well, you can help educate my dumb self. So am I sharing my proper window? Well, I guess we'll see in a second here.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, cool.
Oh, so you have to hit hide. Oh, no. You got to go. I see what the problem is. Next to Dan, now you have to scroll up a little bit because your block is being shown. There we go. Now go to your exotic propulsion one to the far left there on the bottom. There you go. Those 3 dots. Edit
so
name
these are my
and
options.
Headline.
Oh, okay. Edit name and headline. Well,
And
thank
the
you. Oh, there it is. Okay. See,
Boom.
I am stupid.
Now we
That
go.
proves it.
No,
There we
you're
go.
not.
Publicly verified.
It's good to see that you're not super advanced in everything. Like, it's not as intimidating because you're so advanced and so freaking brilliant in so many things. It's refreshing. It's relatable.
I'm only good at like really one thing, and my one thing is science. I'm bad at everything else, but I'm really good at science, and that's about it. I
have this thing within me that I'm incredibly advanced, right? But like, can I say retarded? I'm incredibly retarded with certain things. Of like, I'm very advanced, but with like society things, I'm very, very stupid. Or with the way certain things work. So
I am definitely guilty of that, especially when I get triggered. Then I'm just full retard. Never go full retard.
Incredibly advanced, full retard. And then I think of Robert Downey Jr. in Tropic Thunder, where he's like, "Never go full retard." Where I'm like, oh, I kind of go full retard.
That's where that's from. That's right. That's where it's from.
Yeah, I think there's something really beautiful about the honesty of just accepting the fact that, say, if we're really good at one particular thing, it's super important that we admit our shortfalls, because the only way that we can ever improve on our shortfalls is by admitting them. And that's
absolutely
the place like what you guys just did, came in, helped me with the shortfall, solved it in almost an instant, right? But the only way that can ever happen is if we admit our follies. So
absolutely, like I could perceive different dimensions. I can multitask. I could go into remote view something and perceive. I could go into a location that revokes time and space, right? And literally travel through time, like it's easy. Like I've trained myself. I'm able to surpass many things that would prevent that. But, there's certain things that will block me from your average, like, 401k, like those things. I'm like, what is this? I don't understand. This is foreign to me.
The system, like the basics of the control system.
And how many of you have tuned your minds to where pain and stress levels are opposite, where you relegate them to other realms, other moods?
That's like some Shaolin monk stuff right there.
Yeah.
So
when you feel threatened or you're agitated, there's a severe oscillation in your life, you become calm, and you have a theta band type consciousness.
Yes, exactly. The emotional trigger of going down from like the stress, the hate, the anger to the higher vibration of love, happiness, light, joy, and like then elevated and into the fourth out of body, connecting to the full consciousness and like going the stillness, the oneness, right? That if your emotional state is off, that you're unable to connect to the rest of.
Yes, yeah.
I tried to bump his mic volume up there, but apparently what StreamYard decided to do is turn him into a robot.
Oh, am I getting working quiet again?
Actually, it's working better now. It looks like StreamYard is fixing your mic volume automatically, but I tried to bump it up artificially, and it turned it into total static.
Persona. Should I?
Yes,
we need
Dan Foster Rathers.
I don't know.
Yeah,
I mean, if you can understand me better, I'll talk like this.
Yeah, we've got you now. Actually, it looks like
could
StreamYard
put an accent to it, Dan. Why don't you just get a little more flamboyant in your voice?
Well, I'm usually a laid-back, kind of introverted dude, but yeah, I'll go ahead and do that.
We love it. Okay, first though, I have to circle back. So, Julia, the first time you asked for permission, thus, like, I'm seeing the parallel of that's essentially like Stephen Greer's E5 of your projecting.
Oh, do you want to hear what happened? Okay, so I have this amazing, talented
that's the E5
human
experience.
Okay, I have this amazing, talented human being next to me, and who's touched a UFO that has the ability that anything he touches, he knows how it works on the inside. So whether it's a toaster, a car, it doesn't matter. Like whatever, a human in front of him, he knows, he sees in his mind how it works. He's incredibly, I call him Dark Star, and he goes by Dark Star. And when he touches something, he knows how it works on the inside. So how could you not fall in love with that, right? So he's sleeping next to me, and so I thought, honestly, I'm gonna be honest. Okay, I have to be honest. I can't lie. I thought it was like foo-foo. Like I was like, oh, I have to ask for permission. Like I don't. So I thought it wouldn't make a difference. I was like, like this is a formality. Like I'm trying this. I had such success with remote viewing, but I never had asked for permission. So when I did the 3 light orbs, they show up. They're going in. They're glowing, and I'm like shaking my head. I'm closing my eyes and opening them because I'm expecting. I'm not seeing what I'm seeing. I'm not seeing what I'm seeing. I'm not seeing what I'm seeing. I was in complete disbelief, and they're going into different positions. So in my mind, I was like, shit, Julia, remember they would go to this position. And I was like trying to memorize it, right? Like you're shown different, like, okay, this one go this way. They're moving fast. They're moving fast and they're glowing. They're freaking glowing. And I've never seen colors like that. And they're glowing like that. And so I was like,
inside the glow, or was the glow a single color?
Dude, no, it was multiple. It was a couple different colors, and then it would change. And then so I had said that. So the pivotal thing was when I heard the voice. I'm a seer, okay? I thought all psychics could see. Okay, I have a higher amount of DMT that I produce that apparently I got from my mother's side. So I am a seer. I thought all psychics were seers. And this, my powers amplified since 2013 that I had been working on. So I then hear, you do not need permission, right? Just like that, right? But it sounded like James Earl Jones combined with another voice. And when I hear when I can think of the other voice that it was a combination of, it wasn't just a James Earl Jones voice. It was combined with something else. I'll tell you. And then there was a pause. Because it said, you were not selected. So I take that to the heart. I was like, oh my God, I was just denied. And I'm looking at him and he's sleeping. And I was like, I just got denied. Did he know this? I'm almost like kind of pissed, of like, did he know I was about to be denied? I was just told no. See? And then in my mind, I'm justifying of like, see, this is why I don't ask for permission. I just got fucking denied. So then, but you got to understand, like a couple minutes went by. There was a pause and I reacted. So then I get to the point where it was like, it had said, you do not need permission. You were not selected. And then a huge pause. Then it said, you were chosen. And it's talked in a way where it was like kind of like the Wizard of Oz behind the drape and the curtain. And I'm like, to me, it was funny. Like I'm very my father's very funny. Everything's a joke, and like maybe it's a defense mechanism.
I love that, right? Like it got
So
the
I was
emotional
like,
reaction out of
yes.
you, like this trigger to see what you do, and then like
yes. And I was sitting there like, fuck this. Honestly, like I don't know how much I was like, F this. Like, oh, I have Mars and Leo, right? And I'm like, dude, what? And I don't like being told no. Right. And I have good intentions. So when you hear no, it was like, the F what did you just say? But so it catapulted me. So it was like this emotional roller coaster ride of like, you don't need permission. It was like, what, you were not selected. And so then it was like, you were chosen. And then I'm like sitting there like, this isn't happening to me. This isn't happening. Like closing my eyes, looking up, and they're still glowing. They're glowing and they're going into different positions. And in my mind, I'm like, how am I going to remember? Because I was mainly focused. Listen, when I'm given a remote viewing target, I get in, I get out. I get in, and I'm all about accuracy. You get in. People come to me, they say they're a remote viewer. I'm going to test you. I'm going to test your accuracy. I'm all about accuracy, and it has to do with your heart too. And so I take pride in my accuracy level. So I was like, okay. And so when that happened, then I was shown, I'm taking down this rabbit hole of things, and I'm shown, and then after I spent 5 days in the most craziest, I'm shown all kinds of things like I've never been shown. It's like a drone mixed with just insight of like, imagine when you see that movie, what is it called, with Tom Cruise, Minority Report, and there's like a screen and it shows you things. What they call it, pre-crime. Everyone's like, we're coming into an age of pre-crime. It's like that, but I'm shown things. And so it was like, I'm being taught things and shown things. And so at first it was a lot of like very benevolent things that was like, ooh, this is very high vibrational stuff. I'm loving it. I'm pumped. But then time out. I came across a lot of darkness. Like I'm talking darkness. And then because of the amount of darkness I saw, I remember driving up to the show, and that was to be filmed in Santa Cruz. And I was like, wow, how am I going to explain this? Like they want to know what I saw. And then they had me do a live remote viewing session, which I feel like to this day, this is something that I should look into, but the first ever remote viewing on camera, because they had me, Andrea sat down. It was so windy. It was ridiculous, where I was like, what are families doing here? Like, this is like dune weather. Like the wind was so strong, like, on the beach. Like, what are you doing here with your family? This is ridiculous wind. But, we sat on the beach, and I was able to, They wanted me to remote view a location, and I did. And what I got from it was, I was like, Julia, just tell them what you see. And the thing is at first I had to tune out everyone around me because I could feel the producer, I could feel the sound guy, I could feel Brittany, who was like super doubtful of who and what I was able to do, who thought I was going to humiliate everyone, who didn't believe in remote viewers or the ability to see through past that. And so I felt everyone's thoughts, and I had to like quiet all of that out.
Need stillness, right? You have to be able.
Yes,
to...
and
I'm sorry to like disrupt this, and I gotta point this out again. I'm kind of okay. So let me just state that I'm totally sober except for the alcohol, but I'm kind of tripping out here because let me just state that, and let me ask your opinion, Bernie. Does Julia not sound almost identical to the vocal inflections only of Lulu?
No, not at all.
You don't I gotta look into Lulu. What Lulu?
Do you know Lulu? Because Lulu is
a bit. But
Lulu is like a brilliant independent researcher, which
no. Julia is
the
like
wrong impression of
Julia has put a lot.
She's a brilliant person. She does huge research. So Lulu can actually trigger on demand. She can walk outside with her cell phone and simply think about this idea that I would love for visitors that are viewing us humans to come in to the view.
E5 on contact on camera? I have not actually heard of
Lulu has done this now 6 times. Last time I talked with her, it was 5 times. And what does she do? She does it again on a 6th occasion. Lulu can literally make contact on demand. Like, she is a walking, living CE5 event. I am not kidding. It's amazing. It took me a while to warm up to it. I had to see it for myself, and then she did it on demand. The vocal inflections are almost identical, and I'm wondering, because Lulu is from Texas, and it's so curious because there's got to be a similarity here. There's something to do with
the similarity is the C5 triggering it, is that there's so many people that are now doing it, pursuing it, experiencing it, and manifesting it, that it's being able to be recalled because practice makes perfect. Julie, if you're still there, sister.
A question here, fellas?
Yeah.
She impressed me, I'll be honest. Like, I was really impressed. And we can hear you, Dan. You're a little bit quiet, but
I have a question.
Really impressed me, and it makes me wonder.
Julia.
Yes, sir.
Julia still there?
She might have had to run to the bathroom.
Okay. I just had a question for her.
Yeah, Julia, I didn't mean to point that out as anything in the. Actually, this is all in the positive here.
I'm familiar with the Lou you're talking about, though.
I was really impressed. Are you from? You're not from Texas, are you, Julia?
No, I'm from Southern California.
Wow, it's so uncanny. There's got to be something with the human mind that allows that ability to happen. And I wonder if the vocal inflection is at all related, or if it's
I was always really near. I was always very close to Catalina. And they say that the underground bases, basically where they come out, it's like a triangle from San Clemente to Long Beach, that the USOs come out from that area, like come out from the water because of all the underground bases.
The Tictoc Nimitz area.
And there's so many stories of USOs. I always tell people, you want to see a UFO, like you don't need to go to, SETI certain points in like Sedona or something. Like, just go look at Catalina. They go out and they hover. And I talked about this in a stream with alien scientists. And they go out and they hover. And I haven't remote viewed it, but they go out and they hover, and it's almost like they're extracting.
Because ask permission. You have to do it with us live on camera. And what happens if you summon a Tic-Tac to us, to the world on camera?
Right. So, okay. So back to that story. So basically, It shows me a bunch of things. It takes me down a rabbit hole. And then it takes me to me driving up. I'm in a convertible, right? And then there's all these hawks above me. And I remember feeling like just like ghost in the face. Like I can't show up and say on national television what I found, because you gotta understand what I found. I found an experimental lab. I found an alien looking being in there, which was terrifying, but I was like, I'm not leaving. And it knew when I entered. It knew when I was in there. And it slowly turned around. And I remember looking at it, and I had this terrifying feeling inside where it's like, danger, danger, like you need to run. But I was like, I'm not leaving. But it was like literally like, how did she get in here? And I was like, it knows I'm a she. It knew I was in here. What the heck, right? And it showed me someone being drained with their head down, like, and tubes coming out of their.
No, I would be out of there real quick.
No. Yeah, no. Listen. So tubes.
But Julia, I have a simple question to ask.
Yes.
Okay, remember when you were talking about the 3 plasma spheres?
The 3 plasma orbs.
Yeah, orbs.
They were circular.
Yeah, okay.
And they went in different. They
weren't 3D, huh? They were just flat, circular.
No, dude, they were freaking glowing. Like imagine something like it's like a tennis ball.
I ask you, inside the glow, you said you could see into the glow a bit, and there were multicolors. Now, was there an overall like a plus sign or a multiplicative sign? A time sign. Did you see anything change or morph?
Yeah, no, they changed. The thing is, they could change into whatever shape they wanted to. And that's where I was like, oh my God, there's 3 of them. And they're going into different positions. But they would change colors. But it was mainly, the important part was it was mainly pink and purple. But it was a shade of pink I had never seen before.
Can you put in descriptors to the shapes?
Well,
so I can get an electrical dynamic and diagram of it?
It was mainly circular, but there was so much going on dynamically that I was trying so hard to remember. Okay, all right, pyramid. Like I was trying to remember their. It was like choreography to a dance. Of this position, that position. Oh my God! And I remember thinking, "Fuck." I shouldn't cuss. F. This should be. This is significant, of like, okay, first it was this, and then it was this square, and it because of trying to remember the positions, I thought was significant, and then I felt like I was so embodied into those positions, into what they represent, that I was like, okay, memorize it. And then when you're trying to memorize something, it takes you to a different part of your brain. And the most insights I get is from taking my brain. I have trained, you got to understand, I have spent years training my brain. You got to understand, in 2013, I started having visions, and I was shown things, and I was shown symbols and I would look into these symbols that ended up being, I couldn't find anything that were 15th century alchemical symbols. And I was shown formulas, schematics, maps. So I'm taking it back to, but that was my training, right? And so I'm taking, is their formation is a potential formula, is a potential symbol. So I'm trying to memorize that to get to hone that, right? And I also wasn't expecting any of this. I was kind of tired. This dude's next to me who's freaking brilliant. He's like asking, and then I'm trying to disbelief into the what's happening. Like you think you want this, and then it happens, and then you're like, what is this? What is this? So then I'm shown those things, and then I'm guided towards things, and then I'm guided towards a bunch of enlightening things, and then it goes dark.
So
then
let's
it goes
ask
dark.
a really
You get
critical
the
question. And
duality,
this is
right?
actually an
There's no
interesting one
filter.
by Paul Deer 6480. I don't even know how to say that name, so I apologize. But what is your process for remote viewing? Because a lot of people have different mechanisms. You know,
Okay.
some people use meditation. Some people have a
This is what I want to be a big advocate about. All right, I have to come out. I'm not going to BS and be like, look, Cambo, ayahuasca, DMT. I can't say that. I haven't. I was always aggressively guided against that. So I want to be an advocate. Not that I'm not curious in it. And yes, a lot of people could say, you know what, Julia, this is, BS because you produce more DMT naturally. So of course you're going to see those things. So, who cares if people take DMT to see those things and to have those experiences, because that's how you're seeing it. You're having your visions because your mother, they produce more DMT naturally, and you produce more DMT naturally 12 days out of the month. So lucky you. But so how dare you speak out against that? But I feel like, because I've met Graham Hancock. I think he's wonderful. I think his wife is wonderful.
Oh, really? That's awesome.
And I think, in fact, a week ago, oh my God, I can't believe I'm going to say this. A week ago, I went on, I saw that people were saying on the Schumann Resonance group, they were like, look, they say, they're like, look, I've been having a lot of intuitive dreams. They said, anybody else having really intuitive dreams? And then I was like, oh my gosh, I had this dream that an owl came. Okay, I have a white owl that goes where I go. I tell people that. They don't believe me until they see it for themselves. And Robert Potter, like, he has a conference in Mount Shasta. He saw, like, I think he was like, yeah, there's a white owl that follows you. Okay, Julia. And then we got out of the car after the pageant of the Masters. We went and saw the pageant of the Masters in Laguna Beach. We got out of the car, and then he sees, like, oh my God. And he looked, and I was like, what? And he's like, look. And I look up, and there's a white owl in it. And he was like, oh, you just told me about the white owl.
Well, no, you have the owl.
And so there's a white owl.
A Potter.
Robert
experience.
Potter. And I said, who do you think it is? Because it seems to change people after they see it. So I'm like, is it male or female? What do you think? And I like to hear their feedback of the people that see it, because this has been happening to me since 2006. Well, I have it documented since 2006 that it's been happening to me. So, it's interesting to hear that. But he was like, oh my God, you told me, but I didn't believe you. So
I've got to ask now, though, because you've actually seen these owls, and I'll be honest, in all my life, I've never actually seen an owl out there in nature. So I've been, walking through the woods at night. Plenty of times. I've seen some weird stuff, but I've never seen an owl. It's maybe a strange thing in Wisconsin. So maybe in Wisconsin we don't have too many owls. It's pretty cold here for a lot of the year. We're not quite Canada, but we're pretty darn close.
I'm in Canada, and I've seen many an owl.
I do want to ask this question. So a lot of people who see the owls also, maybe it's an awareness thing. So perhaps I'm just not aware. But they also see symbolism in quite a few things. So I'm curious if you associated symbolism and if you've noticed these kinds of things associated with the owl.
I always feel there's always pivotal things that's happened to me with it. Like where I had this conference in March in Los Angeles by LAX. And I told my girlfriend, Dee, who's a big APM girl, I told her, I said, you know what? I packed my bag and it was like 3 a.m. And I said, you know what, Dee? Because there would be times I would be in my house and I would get summoned to go outside. Like, go outside. And I was like, I'd go out there. I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing out here. And then it would fly out of the bushes and it would go like this and it would stare into my soul and then it would fly away. Like, so I was like, Dee, F that. Like, I'm going to summon it. Like, I just got on this, like, empowering, like, feminine high hold of, like, I'm going to summon it. not even knowing if it was going to work. But I told Dee, and she's a comfortable person that, so like I'm on a rant, I just went through a breakup and I was like, yeah, I'm going to summon the owl. And so it sounds crazy, right? Thank God it was Dee.
Not really, because it actually sounds very parallel to a lot of other stories that we've heard. And that's why I asked. So for example, Bob Grenier and Martin Flesh Memorial Project has associated the owl and its symbolism with the geometry of the spacing of its eyes and the curvature of its head, and found those same types of symbologies in natural structures produced by exotic vacuum objects, which is a super weird thing to think that a natural creature would have this same kind of associated symbolism. And I've never actually had the opportunity to ask somebody.
So I went outside.
Eyes are the magnetic torus field, right?
Now remember, a lot of these,
right? Like your north and south pole cyclic loop of the torus.
I started having a lot of. Everything I'm showing is this place is a torus field. That's why I have like I don't know if you follow me on Instagram, Holly Julia's HALLE Julia. It's supposed to be like Holly Julia, but Holly Julia's.
In the private chat, so Bernie can post it in the public chat.
Try and
open it right now. I will have it in a minute.
Of instances of like, look. So I tell Dee that I go outside. I was like, I'm gonna summon it, and I go outside, and then it's like, and the owl shows up, and there's two of them, and it's white owls. I thought it was significant for me. It was always white owls, and I had told people this, and no one believed me until they see it for them. And then I realized nobody freaking believes you until they see it and experience it themselves. And then I watched that follow. And then what's interesting is like with Dark Star, when we were dating, the guy I was dating, who told me you need to ask for permission. He took me to introduce him to his friend who in a city, and then took me to introduce him to a place where there was like a lot of marijuana being grown or whatever. So in those different cities, there was a white owl that showed up at the first place, a white owl that showed at the next place. So it was like very surreal showing like this. And there was a man that does he has a presentation about white owls and abduction. I don't feel like I've ever been abducted. I feel like there's things that view me and all that, but I'm very sensitive. And I feel like I would know that, but he does a presentation about owls and abduction. What I'm talking about here. So I went out in March of this year. I was like, Dee, I'm going to summon this thing. She happened to call me. I just packed my bag to go to this conference in by the LAX. And then I went outside, and then it was two white owls showed up. And I took video of it because I wanted to show other people. I think when we see something or we have certain insights on things, we want to then have other people experience that, right? So there was that. But back to the whole the things I was shown about the inner earth, that was absolutely profound. I was forever changed by that. I came across a lot of darkness, and I had to understand it. And I have a hard time because somebody could have me look into their past themselves and their soul or whatever. And I struggle to deliver bad news big time.
So could you say that you're almost an advocate of this idea that perhaps the earth is quite a bit different than what we perceive, and it may in fact have an internal
that's one of the main things I wanted to get across. Like I was like, I don't want this foo-foo stuff. I want to see the design of this place, right? I want to see the design. Like, don't BS me. Like, just give it to me straight. I want when you remote view something, you see the design of the place. So it was very, very logical. I'm very like, I want the math. I want the blueprint of it. And so with me, it was like, it kept showing me the Vesica Pisces. And to me, that was profound because, wow, You're talking about when you
parallel,
open up.
Sorry to interject there. I just have to point out the parallel with how Nancy Hutchinson also said, keeps going back to the Vesica Pisces being the key geometry of like the geometric nature.
Does she
of
really?
reality.
Dude,
Yes,
go
she does.
Nancy.
She
I
obsesses
freaking
about
love
it.
them.
Literally obsesses.
Good. I love them because I'd love to make it fancy and like all this other stuff. And I think on my Instagram I even put like hashtag Vesica Pisces shape world. Like it's true. If you open up the earth, it's a Vesica Pisces. Not only that, you look at the Vatican, which weird story. God, I'm just gonna be vulnerable. There's parts of me that like doesn't want to like say certain things. Whatever. There's
this is your experience and what you interpreted it, and that
right.
you interpreted
so when
this
you open,
it
sober,
doesn't
you
really
didn't
matter
get
if
it
we
through
believe this or
drugs.
not,
This is
right?
what you
It doesn't matter if we believe it or not. It really matters. This is your personal testimony and story. So
yeah. Like, don't
objectively.
in a sense, I should have a discredited thing of like, don't listen to me. I don't know what I'm talking about. You
It's
know,
running
like,
on the
Well,
bottom.
yeah,
Don't
that's-
worry.
you just
We,
say-
we
you say
already
this
have a
is-
disclaimer. We've got the disclaimer on the bottom. It always
Right.
runs because
It's just
No,
because
but what's
we're
interesting
all
about-
against it doesn't mean anything.
What's-
You're not claiming that this is true or false for anybody. It's
right.
just personal story. That's
I'm
it.
not claiming if it's
I'm
true
gonna
or
share
false.
my
I'm just highly
Sasquatch
powerful.
story before this is all done, and I'm gonna shut up and let you finish.
Okay, so what's interesting too about the whole Vatican thing is when I was 6 years old, this is just a fact. When I was 6 years old, I was brought to the Vatican, and I was brought to the underground. I was brought to the underground catacombs of the Vatican. I'm 6 years old. I'm the youngest of 4 children. I happen to be Sicilian, so there's other brothers and sisters that are there with me, and then aunt that heard the call of God who wanted to be a nun. Okay, so my mom's sister is there, and so I'm going in the catacombs and I'm looking around and I'm like, dude, this is where all of the knowledge is. Like, wait, why don't I know about this? There's like all these dead bodies. This is where all of the information is, right? And so I was like, wow. And then I'm brought in by guards. I had this the most charismatic freaking limo driver you could ever think of. Okay. This man, he went to the ends of the earth of like, oh, this is the music you're into. Let me get the information, let me put that into my mixtape to put it into a tape of a mix that I'm going to put in a limo. And this limo was like in the 60s. It was like a similar to the one JFK got assassinated with that I'm strolling around Rome in. Okay. And I'm 6 years old. Then it brings me into the same room as the Pope. Okay. Where he goes and waves hi in the Vatican. So I enter into the room and my aunt almost faints. Okay, she almost faints because she heard the call of God and she wanted to be a nun and all of that. And there's this man who's supposed to be the Pope. Who knows what this is, right? And so that was my experience, right? Of like there was like this white curtain and he's there and he's praying. And it's this balcony. There's this huge balcony, and there's these men in these like different. I don't know. It was like
cardinals in the robes or the Swiss
yeah,
guard,
they had like charcoal. I don't know how to say
uniforms.
charcoal or like checker.
That might be the Swiss guard.
Like checker like
Almost
motif
ghostry.
going on where they would hold like weird things and they almost look like jokers. Where they're like holding on to things. I don't know if they're Opus Dei and they're like holding on to it and whatever. And so I was like, oh my God. But so I was brought in the same room with the Pope, which is interesting because I looked into my parents. I was like, you guys, why was I brought into the same room as the Pope? Okay. I was 6 years old. What is going on? How did you? They're like, oh, the chauffeur brought you there. Okay. Well, who the F is this chauffeur? And they have a name. And I tried researching of like who this guy was, all of this stuff. Salvatore. And there was a Salvatore that was murdered 2 months after this happened. So I was like, was it the same driver? Like, what the heck? So, anyways, that's a whole deeper dive. But back to the whole inner earthing of things I was shown and then showing up. And then so when I'm on the beach in Santa Cruz and Andreas Exertus, he puts out his sunglasses, and because they were like, what do you need to see what you see? And I was like, I just need to look into light. And for me,
sorry, just before you continue, this what happened, like, what was it, last week or 2 weeks ago when you met up with Brittany and Zertus for Brittany's birthday, was it? When
no,
this happened, this was much.
This was in
older?
2021. This was in 2021.
Okay. This was a couple years ago. Okay, sorry. A while ago. So then, and this was on camera. All of this, you guys recorded?
It was on camera. And the thing is, when they had asked me, a producer named Kyle was like, Julia, we want you to view this location on camera. And I said, Kyle, that's like asking me to masturbate on camera. Because like there's a sacred practice to performing this when you implement your consciousness to another time and place. That's sacred. It is sacred. And if you have the access authorization, it's even more sacred. So it was like oh man, like you're asking me to do this? So I was really psyched out with it. And so Andreas, but I think the world of Andreas, I was like, look, I was like pitching him to the producers were very, very interested in, number one, they were very interested in my relationship with Darkstar. They were like, okay, this guy could see, this guy's touched a UFO. This guy can touch things and see how they work electronically on the inside. Okay. Like, we like that. How did you guys meet? We want to know more about that. And then with Andreas, they were like, okay, how do you guys normally work? Like, okay, they were over the target. And so when I looked forward to it, I was like, because a part of me was like, dude, this is sacred. I can't do this on camera. It's like, literally, if somebody approached you guys and was like, I want you to masturbate on camera, it's okay. If a lot of money was thrown at you, I'm sure you would think like, oh yeah, okay, it sounds good. But no, like it's more intense than that, and spiritual and emotionally violating. And so
you're selling your soul a bit for it, right? Like
right. And I have like these strict guidelines and blockages. I have financial blockages and all kinds of things. So there was like other things going on. But with Andreas, so Andreas he has these like these glasses that are I don't know what you call them, but they're like sunglasses. And he and I was like, look, and I looked at him and I said, you got to know how to pilot me. You got to know, like, when I'm down there, you got to know how to pilot me. And he was like, yeah, okay. And there's all these people on set, and the wind was so brutal. It was so brutal where I was like, why are there people at the beach? And I'm feeling like everyone on the beach. I'm feeling Brittany's self-doubt. I'm feeling the producer of like, we got to hurry up. We need to go to lunch. I'm feeling everyone's thoughts. So I was like, Julia, just tune all of that out. And that was hard. It was hard for me because I felt like this is a sacred practice that shouldn't be practiced on camera. And I felt a little resistant to that of like, oh, it's like I said, it's like pleasing yourself on camera. It's a whole nother level. It's the best representation I can think of. And what it showed me, and then I was torn because what it's showing me was, Andreas had certain questions, and what it basically showed me was this red fluid beneath it, and to be careful, danger. And it turned out that he asked the questions in the way he felt, like he should, but that the questions were basically like, it was like to be careful of this red liquid. Now, I felt like a dumbass. Like I had said, like, oh, I should have added more of my narration and my insight, right? But no, there was it showed me red liquid and that it was dangerous. Now, 2 days later, they were supposed to go there. Okay. Nathan, Brittany, Andreas, the cast, the production, but they showed me, it was like, no, this is dangerous and it's red liquid. But so 2 days after our session was it erupted. It was red liquid. It was lava. So I felt absolutely stupid because it was showing me it erupts, and to be careful of the eruption of Mount Shasta. And instead I was like, just say what you see. Just say what you see, and that's what I saw.
But look, it's a learning experience. Like, you couldn't have illustrated better, predicting on camera, showing an eruption of a place 2 days before it happened, and then the next time that you tap in and it's showing you an eruption, you know what it is, right? Like because you're seeing it with different eyes. You're seeing it through your mind's eye experience, not with your physical two eyes. And I hear it from remote viewing that it's like the energy, you're experiencing different types of energy, and that's what you're essentially seeing most, is different energy flows, whether it's like emotional, whether it's physical, whether it's movement, stuff like is that correct in some ways?
Absolutely correct. And then when you go
to interject here before we get too far. So I'm gonna have to run for tonight, but I will definitely watch the rest of this as I am building the new.
Oh, Jeremiah, you're not gonna stay?
Okay, before Jeremiah goes,
Jeremiah, liminal.
Julia, you have to explain the Roswell witness that you have the interview coming up with that potentially has actual retrieval material.
Thank you, Jack. What is Jack's last name?
Sarfati, are you talking about?
Sarfati. Oh my God.
Yeah,
Jeremiah.
That was so funny, dude. I can't believe Jack got on that, and it was amazing. I mean, I was called a schmuck, and so was everybody else.
No, so you didn't make a schmuck list. He said you're very smart, but you speak too fast, and you have to slow it down a little bit because he's old and
as Jack said, and I'll repeat what he said for people who didn't catch that crazy epic and also quite offensive live stream. And what Jack said to me was, I've never heard anybody say so many words without saying anything important, and really
intelligent words. He said intelligent words.
He did. And so afterwards, we got onto the live, and it was in the after party where we really discussed the details of what I had talked about. And for anybody curious about what it was that I said that got me banned, got me the Jack Banhammer for the moment with the schmuck label, which of course Jack's not going to ban any of us because I started the whole Jack G00 or Magic Goo conspiracy thing because his math was wrong. Jack knew his math was wrong. I knew his math was wrong, and so did Ziggy Zabignu, and so did the other people that I got on that whole thing with Jack Sarfati's little improper math because he was basing on Einstein's principles of a zero changeable refractive index or a constant space-time. So we know that's wrong, and that was well proven wrong. And that's why he changed his mathematics after I started the whole controversy in a private email chain that involved almost 37 people later on down the line. But I was called a schmuck because this is what I said, that the cosmological constant and the gravitational coupling coefficient are directly related, and they have everything to do with the variable refractive index of epsilon and mu. And for saying that, I was told that I said too many words with nothing being important. And so here's the fact. The gravitational coupling coefficient and the cosmological constant are in fact directly correlated through epsilon and mu, which are the two variables that control the refractive index. This was not too many words. This was the minimum number of words that one could use to describe precisely this correlation. But I'm a schmuck because I said it too fast. And that's okay. I mean, Jack did say, he's 84 years old, and I forgive him.
Dude, that's what made me not want to like him, is because I came in late and then I heard him say something to you, and then I was like, wait, what? Are you kidding me? Did you just say something bad to Jeremiah?
After that, though,
he was like, too many words.
Saying you guys are a bunch of very smart young individuals, and he was mostly directing it towards Jeremiah.
But I love Jack, though, and I gotta say that too. Like, Jack is a super smart guy, and I'm not going to discredit that at all. I love talking with Jack, and the truth is that when he called me a schmuck, I did reconsider just for a moment whether or not I fully understood what it was that I was saying. And after determining that, in fact, I did, because the experiments that I have conducted were successful. And the only way to really know if you know what you're saying or what you're talking about is to conduct an experiment. Because the truth of the matter is, experiment trumps theory. Well, Jack said flat out, he's a theorist. He said, don't bother me with the experiments. I'm a theorist. That's not what I do. So I'll give him the credit. He's an honest guy.
He reminds me of Britney Spears' manager, Larry Rudolph. I was like, is this guy from the Bronx?
Yeah. And
this guy has to be from the Bronx.
He makes you think, right? He's going to challenge your opinions. He's going to demand that you bring your very best to the game. He's old enough. He's experienced enough that he's going to bring your very best out. He's going to make sure that you only bring your A game to the table. And I love that, Jack. I love that about him. It's awesome.
Like,
we all
Virgo.
I have not been made to Jack Schmuck list yet, and it's like when I'm on a stream or around Jack, like I say, it's like the least I will ever say on a stream, because it's like, just let the man speak because he knows what he's speaking, and interject when you have a good point, and then shut the fuck up.
It was beautiful because you have this like age gap, right? You have this experience age gap where he has all this experience, and you guys are all like, connected by this one draw, this magnetic draw that's like this free energy or this formula, and it all brings and ties you guys together. Exactly. But there's that lacking, like, Papa Bear, like Papa.
Right, we have an impossible dream, and that impossible dream is we are talking about technologies that we intend to make. In Jack's case, he intends to theorize and write the mathematics for, or at least write the theory for, which literally allows us to physically manipulate the fabric of space and time itself. So for me, that's an impressive feat. And if he's going to get on board with manipulating space and time, you can bet that we were there. So unfortunately, I've got to run, guys. I'm so sorry, but we're gonna pump out the videos. We're gonna pump out the live streams.
Tell Luminal, send Luminal my love, and I'm gonna miss you guys in Vegas.
Right. Well, we'll be with you in spirit, and telekinetically, right? Like, you'll think of me when you have a moment. You'll message me. We'll do a live stream. Hopefully Sam will be there.
Dude, we need to break down Samus Monagitch's walls. Like, he has barriers around him. I could tell you a story about how I went into this viewing.
I will catch this later, though, guys. And so I'm going to jump off now, but I don't want to stop any of this momentum. And please,
I love you.
I'll catch this as I'm building.
Tell Liminal I love her.
New thrusters.
Anybody know any good lawyers?
Tell Liminal to join on if she's available. We love you.
Get Luminal in here.
I'll tell. Liminal is actually already
okay. So back to
Samus
Samus Monagitch,
and we're gonna go ahead and relax.
Okay, back to
All
Samus
right.
Monagich. I the very first time I ever met Samus Monagich, it was like a fantasy into my deep darker into my gosh, I can't
Your
believe I'm gonna
nerd
share
soul,
this.
right?
A part of me is like, don't tell them. But another part of me is like, dude, let it out. Okay, the first time I met Samus Monagich, I feel like I crush on him because because of the information that he is saying and he comes with, right? And his wife is super gorgeous, right? She's like amazing and beautiful. But when I went into this lecture and he was in there and they brought him up at the front of the lecture and they were like, look, they were trying to show where his hips were and how his hips were off balance and how they were going to align them. Okay. So they call Samus Monagich up from the audience and then they call me up from the audience. So the very first time I met Samus Monagich, they were like, okay, put your hands on his hips. And I was like, like the inside of me is like, this is like the
On
Backstreet
stage,
Boys.
front
Like,
and
this is
center,
like the ultimate, whoever you are
Get into
as a
some
little
awesome
girl,
notes.
and whoever the ultimate was, this to me, because I don't crush on very many guys ever. So I crush on Samus Monagich. So they had me put my hands on his hips and then show like where his hips were off balance. And then afterwards, after the session, I was like, listen, I told the doctor, I was like, thank you for making my fantasies come true. I was like, thank you. And his father was like, got a Nobel Prize for the lymphatic system, the showing the